Hey, everybody, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here at Black Star Network. Each and every week, we are bringing you tips to put in your balanced living toolkit. Today, we are going to be joined by, of course, our usual suspects, our contributors, Dr. Tierney, our level up coach, Pastor JT, who is an author, as well as our resident theologian, our educator, author, and administrator, the one and only Stacey Owens, and of course, Chef Rock of Queen Mothers here in DC. And we're also joined by a very special guest, Jasmine Brett Stringer, who is a phenomenal host in her own right of her own platform, Carpe Diem, how to seize your life every single day. Today, we're going to be talking about all things related to what does it mean to really manage your own shop. Each and every one of us on this show are entrepreneurs, and so many of you have reached out to us saying, what can I do? How do I do it well? How do I turn these corners? How do I live my dreams? What can I do to make it work when everything else seems to be falling apart? Well, today is the show for you. Welcome in, everybody. I am so thrilled. Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Let me tell you, at the very top of the hour, I do have one question for each of you. How are you making it work? I mean, honestly, so many people have decided to jump ship. We've all heard about the great resignation. And today we're talking about what it means to really live your dreams. Everybody has a side hustle, people trying to figure out how to turn it into a legitimate business. But oftentimes they don't understand every single little nuance associated with doing so. So I'm going to start with Dr. Tierney and just tell us, Dr. Tierney, how are you doing with Level Up?
Well, things are growing, they are thriving, but that does not mean that it is easy. So when you ask, how am I making it work? I've had to really make sure I focus my mindset. And the thing that I focus on is it either has to work or it has to work. There is no plan B. There is no exit, escape hatch. There is no, well, if this doesn't work, then I'll go and do. There's none of that. I've really set my mind and set my focus on the fact that, one, I'm doing exactly what I've been called and purpose and designed to do. And two, it either has to work or it has to work, And so when you have that mindset, then you start to look at things differently, even as it may feel like, your world is crumbling around you. You start looking for that silver lining and looking for ways to make it work. So that's how I'm doing, and that's how I'm making it work.
I mean, that all of that sounds like you're really putting in the time and the effort, because the pursuit of the dream is not an easy task. Talk to us, Pastor JT, about pursuing that dream and how are you doing with it?
Yeah, one of the things that I can say is, I know we've probably seen the meme, where it talks about how we think success is going to be this straight line, but it's a whole bunch of squiggly lines. And then we finally get to a place where we think is the place. And then we arrive there, and then God tells us, no, this is just the midway point. We still have a little bit further to go. But one of the things that I've learned, especially during the great pause, I try not to say that C word anymore, is that change. Change is inevitable. And when we do the work that we do, we're looking to either change somebody's life or change their perspective, and then see our lives change, even seeing, our bank account change, maybe where we live change. But I want you to look at that word challenge. You can't get the word change unless you have the word challenge. But then the only difference between the two words are a couple of L's. So when you have that L, don't see it as a loss, see it as a learn. And that's what has helped me get to where I am. Learning from those things that I did not know, and then applying the lesson and moving forward.
I love what you said. I hope everybody was listening, because those are some great opportunities for you to put some things in your toolkit, especially your balanced living toolkit when it comes to business. You have to be in that space of being willing to take challenges. I'm going to tell you this over and over again. Running your own shop is not for the faint of heart or for the thin skin. Stacey, talk to us about what it means to be living in the moment and pursuing your dream. How are you doing?
I think for me, I'm always going to come from that emotional aspect. So I'm very in tune to my feelings, my negative thoughts. And I say the negative thoughts because, your positive thoughts come when you're having a great time and you're able to celebrate, the milestones that you accomplish. But whenever you're working on your dreams and things are changes and challenges are coming, what's going on in your subconscious and your mind? Like, are you having negative thoughts? You're saying positive things out your mouth, but you're really thinking about the fears, or you're thinking about what if this doesn't work? Because it's what I found is usually those things that's happening in your subconscious mind, they'll take over and lead if you don't flush them out, or if you're not aware that you're having those thoughts that's counteracting against the positive thoughts that you're trying to display on the outward side. So I'm just always in tune to my emotions. Don't be fearful. Don't be afraid of stuff. It's going to come to you. It's going to come in your mind. But how do you quickly replace it with a positive thought or something that you can say that will allow you to continue to keep moving? Because like Dr. Tierney said, the biggest thing is don't have that plan B. Just know that it's going to work. Keep telling yourself it's going to work, and then just keep making it work. Just keep moving.
Just keep moving. I have to go to my favorite cartoon reference of Dory from Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, because oftentimes we come against many of life's different currents. And we often say, oh, I need to put myself on the shore, or I need to get benched and sit out. But a part of that growth and moving forward and being balanced is discovering where you fit in the process of living your dream. Now, Chef Rock, I'm going to have him talk to us about where he is in his dream, because Queen Mothers is growing and thriving. Chef Rock, how you doing with pursuing your dream?
Well, Dr. Jackie, I almost jumped out of my seat when Dr. Tierney was talking earlier, and everyone else. As far as me pursuing my dream and where I am, it really is an exercise in what can I get done today, right? As a chef of 20-something years in this industry, many times we have budget constraints or certain sort of parameters put around what we can do in restaurants from the owners of restaurants, and I didn't appreciate the value in that. It like Dr. Tierney said, either it's going to get done or it's going to get done. But for me, especially in dealing with the big pause for the past couple of years, I've really learned to what can I control today? And how can I get through to tomorrow? And it's really, sometimes it's been down to hour by hour by hour. What can I do right now? Because I have to get it done. It's either get it done or close up shop and get evicted. And the other thing that I'll say is therapy has really helped me. I have to say that had it not been for my commitment to therapy over the past 3 years, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to sort of bounce ideas and really reflect or have someone objective, a professional, really help me get through. How's it going to get done? It's either going to get done or it's going to get done. And that's been great tools for me. And we continue to grow throughout.
Thank you for sharing that information, because we honestly feel like when we're in this entrepreneurial space that we're in it by ourselves. And hopefully those of you who are watching will find some value in what our guests are saying today. I want to introduce to you all right at this moment, Jasmine Brett Stringer. I'm going to have a one-on-one with her later, but Jasmine is all about what it means to pursue your dream. So Jasmine, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're doing. And then when we come back after our break, we'll dive right in again.
Thank you so much for having me. My whole platform is Carpe Diem and Seize Your Life. I like to say that I am on a mission to help people live more authentic, connected, and mindful lives. And I do that as a professional speaker and an award-winning author and a lifestyle contributor to CBS Minnesota. But when it comes to pursuing our dreams, that's something that I know about. I worked in corporate America for many years, and then I was given that gift in disguise, a layoff, which really gave me the opportunity to say, wait a minute, Jasmine, what's something that you've been saying you want to do? Are you going to do it? Are you willing to bet on yourself? And like you said, that's not a decision for the faint of heart to make. But the thing that keeps me motivated every single day are two things. One, I start my day with a gratitude practice where I list 5 things that I'm thankful for. And sometimes the things are, may seem small. I will tell you, for the past 3 years since the great pause, number 1, I'm thankful for my health. And number 2, I'm thankful for the health of my loved and dear ones. But then more importantly, I believe that a person, a business, a thing, Inaction stays in action. And yes, we want to live lives of balance, but I like to plant 3 seeds every single day for my business. So that's like, who am I reaching out to just to say thank you? Who am I reaching out to say, this is what I'm up to? Who am I reaching out to say, hey, can I get on your calendar? How am I connecting with others to make sure that they know what I'm doing in my business? Those 3 seeds that I'm planting.
Thank you for sharing that, because oftentimes we don't know how to till the soil of our business. And oftentimes it means tilling the soil of our soul. Before we go to the break, I want to go back to the top with Dr. Tierney. I want to ask her one thing. Dr. Tierney, when people are pursuing their dreams, what is the one thing that you would tell them as it relates to what to pursue?
So this is where you have to do that internal work. A lot of times when people are trying to decide what to pursue, even with my clients, we tend to look at what's trending, what we think is going to be super lucrative, or all the things that are external to us. When really what we should do is tap into our internal. And again, you guys know the question I'm going to ask: who are you? Going into who you are, what are your unique skills, characteristics, what makes you tick, what makes you happy, and this is where that age-old statement, would you do it for free? Not saying don't get paid. That ain't what I'm saying. We got to make sure we get paid, but is it something that you are not necessarily thinking about the money aspect of it, but you're thinking about how you're doing it, who you're doing it for, and the joy that it brings you? So when we're thinking about what to pursue, we have to look at that from an internal aspect and not really an external aspect.
Absolutely. That internal research comes in very handy. When we come back after the break, I want to engage everyone in a conversation around this idea of defining the dream, because I know we can all pull from here and here and here and every other place because we've got 1,000 things on paper. But how do you really determine what to tune into and tap into when you begin to start the process? When we're back after the break.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And I hope you got these wonderful nuggets in your toolkit, because oftentimes there will be change and you'll be challenged. And, we're learning how to lean into our fear and see some of our L's as lessons learned and not as losses. But a part of that process and discovering how to be on the winning side of what you want to do is honing in and defining which dream to pursue. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to run my own business. I'm going to hang my own shingle. I'm going to start my own business. All of these things. But what do you narrow it down to? And yes, in the course of your life, you'll be many things. So you may have one or two or several ideas, because most of us are talented in so many areas. But it comes down to, how do you really define the dream itself and what to pursue? I want to start with Pastor JT, because I want to bring this in first as it relates to our gifts and talents. And sometimes they tell us the direction that we should go in. And then something that Jasmine said, that sometimes you get that great pink slip and you oftentimes are forced into doing something different. So Pastor JT, talk to us for a moment about pursuing dreams connected who you're gifted to be.
Wow. That's kind of loaded, Dr. Jackie. Because sometimes we pursue dreams that are connected to other people's picture of what success looks like. Mm-hmm. I think you go back to what Dr. Tierney said in our last segment when she asked the question that she always asks: who are you? Because I believe that if you pursue something that is not connected to who you really are, you'll find yourself chasing after something that you'll never grab. And oftentimes, people are chasing after things that probably will get them some type of affirmation from somebody else. So I think that first thing is looking in the mirror, being proud of who you are, being able to find some spaces to pat your own self on the back. But then more than anything, if I can just pull on who I am, I think in this space that I have kind of gravitated to, Who has God created you to be? What is that thing that when you see it on television, it's something in your soul that pulls you to that place? When you read about it, when you hear about it, I believe that that's the thing. And sometimes those things may not get you the largest paycheck, but it will give you the greatest gratification for your soul. So I really believe, I think it all boils down to self-awareness, really knowing who I am. And then once I know who I am and I connect to my creator, now I can work in concert with him to identify the plans that he has for me. Because not to start preaching, but his plans always outweigh our plans. Because before we even got here, according to the Bible that we read, it says that his plans for us are to prosper us, to give us an expected end. And who better to help us in our now, to get us to the end, than the person who had a plan before us, had a plan for us before we had a plan for ourselves.
I think that's extremely profound, because oftentimes, we are grappling on many ways of how to tie in our faith and who we are with what the world says we need to be or could be or should be. And then there's something within us that we already know how to do. I want to bring Jasmine in on this conversation, because how do we seize every moment of our lives, and why is that of value when it comes to defining our dream? Jasmine?
One thing that we have learned over the past few years, if we didn't already know it, is that life changes just like that in the blink of an eye. And so it is our duty, it is our responsibility to be intentional about how we are living and how we are showing up in the world. Last week, I was in San Antonio for a conference, and I was with a person that I considered to be a mentor, and we were just sitting outside, having a glass of water, waiting on lunch. And she said, this is what life is about. And I said, this is really what it is. This is what I mean when I say carpe diem. It is these moments. So it wasn't the fact that we were in San Antonio at the National Speakers Association conference, that people were going to be taking the stage, that we were going to be speaking and sharing things, but that we were having this moment of just her and I and two other friends enjoying the beautiful day and the sunshine and being fully present in that moment, leaning into that experience and then taking that experience and moving on to the next experience. So it's really the moments. It's the moments that add up when we think about what it means to seize the day and seize our life. And I just wanted to chime in on one thing that Pastor JT said and Dr. Tierney said, is that it is so important to know who you are. But as we move every day, we're taking progress. And this world will come at you from all different kind of angles. And people love to tell you who you are, or they like to say, oh, well, have you considered this? Maybe you should do this. They like to add perspective. And so you need to always revisit who you are. That needs to stay top of mind, knowing who you are. I always say who I am and whose I am as a person of faith. And more importantly, why am I doing this? Why is this my mission, to help people seize the day and seize their life? I had a epiphany last week with my quiet time. God is like, Jasmine, is it about the money or is it about the work? And I was like, it's about both. But he said, you know what? You need to make sure that it's the work, the purpose that is leading you, and then the money will come.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect segue for my next question, because when we think about defining that dream, we often get it confused with trying to determine what success looks like. And the two are not the same. So Jasmine, share with us first the difference between defining the dream and defining success.
Yeah, well, the dream is what it is that you want to do. And my signature keynote talk, I ask people, what is your secret dream? The thing that started me on this journey is that I had a secret dream that I wanted to be on television. Didn't study communications. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I said, there wasn't a lot of diversity on the news at that time. So how was I going to turn the ship, leaving corporate America and a sales background, into doing something? So that was the secret dream. Now, what does success look like? Success looks like different things for different people. And I think that is the number one problem that people have, is that they look at your life and they're like, oh, she's successful. But is that the kind of success that you want for your life? I live a very different life. My husband's a farmer. I love to play in the dirt and in the soil and garden. And out there, I feel so successful when I'm seeing my vegetables grow and then we can something. That's a personal success. You know, in my professional life, I say that I do this work for impact. When someone tells me how I've helped them reframe something, how they've decided to take action, or how they're planting 3 seeds, that's success back to me because I know that I'm having an impact. So only you can define what success looks like for you. And all of these things that I mentioned, I didn't mention a car, I didn't mention a house, I didn't mention money, but you have to be willing to define success on your own terms when it comes to what that means.
Thank you for sharing that, because it is oftentimes industry driven. Chef Rock, talk to us about the difference in your industry between defining the dream and defining success.
Well, Dr. Jackie, I think that it's a great question, the difference between dream and success. You know, often for me in my career, I didn't know the difference between the two. So I'm grasping for my thoughts right here. I think that I have this exercise where I ask myself why 6 times, at least 6 times. You know, I want to have a great restaurant. And I say, why? Well, because we'll make some money. And I say, why? You know, what is the money? And I'll get to, for me, it is, my last one is freedom. So success is freedom, freedom of time to, you know, it's liberation. It's to be able to express myself creatively in all of the areas. I want to be free to do whatever it is that I want to do. And so that is the ultimate goal of success. And that could be, I could shrink that down to a every week, or I could, you know, talk about when I'm, you know, 60, 70 years old. As far as dreams, you know, I'm a dreamer, I'm an artist, I'm creative. And I think that I can do both, dream and have sort of this path towards success at the same time. But contrary to the way I was raised was that, you know, you can do whatever you want as long as you put your head down and work really hard. I don't think that's necessarily true without defining the steps to get there. So for me, the dream is, you know, I have a bunch of dreams. I ain't even gonna bore you with all of that. But the path towards success is about really being realistic and, you know, having that internal self-awareness, external self-awareness about what it's going to take to get there, for me to liberation, to freedom. And I can do some dreaming along the way, right? It's not an either or, it's just how, you know, how I'm going to fit what he has for me, how I'm going to do both if possible. So I hope that makes sense, but I try to be realistic about what is possible. If I would have done this again 30, 40 years ago, I would have sort of inched my way as opposed to making these big splashes and expecting something from life. I would have inched my way closer to the goal. So for me, it's about balance, but key to not to beat a dead horse to what everyone else is saying. It's really, for me, it's been a real crash course and a constant education and self-awareness about what I want and why I want it.
I think that what you've explained to a lot of us and to those that are viewing is that we are in that space every day of figuring it out, because there is no one set way to define the dream, to pursue the dream, and to live the dream. And I think it's all of that, you know, conundrum that we saw on your face that we all experience as entrepreneurs every day. We are literally sitting down, determining for ourselves the best ways to manage the business of our business, because it's great to put out a product line. It's great to offer a wonderful service. But at the end of the day, if you're not counting the cost of what it means to be an entrepreneur, then you're really not being a good leader. Or as Jasmine said, you're not being authentic to yourself and to your business. When we come back after the break, I want to continue this conversation because, you know, you can do a lot in a little amount of time. When Rock said, put your head down and get about the business of your business, that's what matters. When we come back after the break, let's talk a little bit more about defining the dream, but also what are some of the strategies that we have used to move us, as he said, inch by inch to where we need to be. We'll be back in a moment after our break.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And I know you're sitting there with your pen, your pad, your digital device. You're taking all of these notes because some of you are in that space. Here we are in March, right at the top of the new year. And you're saying, I want to do this, but I don't know if I can do this. Well, today you have people here right now who can sort of filter through some of those questions that you may have. I want to ask Stacey this question as it relates to the strategy for being successful. Now, Stacey is an educator and an administrator, and she's already shared with us a little bit about what it means to determine her dream, define her dream, and move into that dream. But there has to be some strategy. Stacey, talk to us about a little bit of the strategy that is required for people who are either at the beginning of their business journey, in the middle of their business journey, or really trying to say, do they want to just throw in the towel and give up on their business journey? You're the right person to talk right now.
I think that's loaded, but when you start talking about strategies, I always tell people to start with identifying what your dream is. Like when my 18-year-old Stacey, I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer, and then my mother told me, because you don't know any Black fashion designers. This was back, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, a long time ago. So she was like, do something else. So I landed into that space of becoming an educator, and I thought, hey, education. I didn't even realize I was a good teacher. I fell into that and became a great, excellent teacher. And I thought I had a strategy for it, just to wake up every day and make sure I was touching the lives of students. And then God gave me this dream to create a space that my personal son needed. And I was like, that would require me to come out of a protected corridor and start it on my own. That possibly can't be it. And my strategy for that first was just to trust the process. Because at first I didn't. I was like, I know you can't be wanting me to do that, Lord, because I'm a broke little teacher. I don't have any money. I don't even know what this is going to look like, sound like, feel like. So I had to first learn to trust myself and trust the direction that was given to just go and jump out there and do it. And so I did. So strategy number 1 is trust yourself enough to at least be believing in yourself. And then once I got out into this space, and I was just so out here, and I was like, now I had to be able to listen to others, seek help from, those who have already been here. So if you find yourself in a space where, one, you're the smartest person in the room, or you're just in this bubble on your own and you're not seeking help from people who've already done what you're trying to do, then that's going to make it harder for you. So I had to sort of throw my net out and find some folks that were already in that space of creating schools and listen to their advice. I still had the responsibility to sort out if what they did would work for what the vision that was given to me, but I was open to learning. So that's strategy number 2. You're always going to be in a position where you have to continue to increase your learning curve, right? And then as I got into the whole running the school, oh man, I had a lot of bumps in the road. I was knocked down a lot. I took a lot of gut punches. I failed a lot. And I used to feel bad about failing because I thought, oh my God, I should just go back in the classroom and teach. But strategy number 3 was learn from my failures. I had to pick up from every time I fell down. I had to get up and say, what did I just learn from that moment? So that I can apply what I learned and then be able to keep moving on. You want me to keep going? Because I can go on a whole, course of places of strategies that I had to learn along the way. But I would say mostly just trust yourself. Go out there, put the structures in place, listen to what, resources that are given to you, and learn from your failures. We'll stop.
No, I think that those are excellent tools because people are looking for things to hang their hat on. Because in this space and in this season of trying to discover how to grow, when to grow, where to grow, and who to grow with, it all matters. And a part of that is being able to level up. I want to bring Dr. Tierney in because sometimes we have to figure out how to pull ourselves together in order to move ourselves forward. Talk to us, Dr. Tierney.
I want to pick up with something that my sister Stacey just mentioned when she went to her mom and said, I want to be a fashion designer. And her mom said, there ain't no Black fashion designers. Now, that was the reality back then. And that was her mom's reality. And that was really the reality in America. But that was still Stacey's dream. Just because that was the reality at the time didn't mean that negated Stacey's dream. But oftentimes that's what happens. We'll have a dream and then we'll say something about it or tell someone else. And because it's not their reality or the reality, then we'll take our dream, we'll stuff it in our pocket, and we'll try to find something that is more realistic for us to do. You know, we want to definitely be careful with that, because there's something that Dr. Darius Daniels mentions that he calls unique agitation. In this life, there will be things that you will see, that only you will see, that you are uniquely agitated about. So let's take Chef Rock. He's an amazing chef, amazing. He will maybe see someone eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and like, oh my gosh, that is not, what kind of bread is that? What kind of peanut butter is that? What did you use, jelly or jam? Like, you know, it will agitate him because he is uniquely gifted to be in the sphere of chef and cooking and these culinary amazing experiences. Whereas me, peanut butter and jelly, that's fine. I don't care anything about it, because that's not the lane, that's not the arena that I'm supposed to be in. I'm uniquely agitated in a different area. When I see my brothers and sisters not going after their dreams and they're playing small and their inner enemy is making them play with their little me and they're not really being all that they could be, that agitates me like no end. So when we're talking about our dreams, you want to look at what is it that you're uniquely agitated, you know, toward, and that agitation is not going to be someone else's agitation. So when you tell someone your dream and they say, oh girl, you can't do that. Oh, there's none, and they hit you with that reality. That's where you have to really stand up and protect the dream. Sometimes you can't tell people what your dream is. Sometimes you have to just take your dream and dream about it between you, your God, and your God. Sometimes God will send you the people that are supposed to be with you to protect your dream. So when we're talking strategy in terms of going in this direction, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is protect your dream.
Protecting the dream is key. And I know that Jasmine has something to say about that, because I follow Jasmine and I know that seizing your life every day is a process and it requires strategy. Talk to us, Jasmine.
Well, you know, I love what Dr. Turney said about protecting the dream. And I always say that we have to be willing to mute the volume around us, because in the example of the mom, yes, our moms love us and they want what's best for us. Our family members, they love us, but they do not have that vision. It is not their dream. And they are only coming at something from their perspective. I always say, when you have a seed inside you, that seed is meant to grow. And it is your job to nurture it, to water it, to fertilize it so that it can grow. It's not anybody else's responsibility to do that. And yes, we may be blessed to have people to come along and, you know, sprinkle some water on it, give it some fertilizer, give it some food, but it's your dream, your vision, and only you can nurture that.
That intentionality is such a big part of who we are. I want to invite everybody in because I think this is a great place for us to give our audience a challenge. I'd like for us to consider, when we're talking about pursuing our dream, defining our dream, and developing a strategy, what is the one thing that each of you would say that they should put in their toolkit as it relates to moving? I'm going to use a football analogy, moving that ball, that dream down, you know, the field. I'm going to start with Pastor JT.
So I see your football analogy and I'll raise you one. Everybody's looking for the Hail Mary play. That's where you see the quarterback and he takes his arm back and throws it as far as he can. And he lofts it up in hope of getting as much ground, as many yards covered as he can, in hopes of scoring a touchdown. Those are great for ESPN highlights. But I'm going to challenge you. You have 4 downs to get 10 yards to get a first down. Sometimes you may not get that long distance play. You may have to drudge it out, edge it out, get a couple of yards here. get a win here, get a win there. And as long as you are building momentum and you continue to keep moving forward, you're going to cross that goal. So don't get sidetracked if you see somebody else scoring a touchdown before you. You keep playing your game. Just as it was said about that seed that's planted inside of you, you shouldn't be concerned about what's going on in somebody else's garden. You take care of yours, because chances are they could have gone somewhere and got some fake flowers, and yours are dying because you're looking at theirs.
Absolutely. Chef, what say ye?
I think that this segment, I can't wait to watch it again. This has blessed me, and I'm trying not to take notes, so I'm ready for my turn. It's very personal for me because I'm still here, but I've been in those moments where I've had that whisper from that voice. I call it God. And there's been a couple times where I haven't acted on what he told me to do, to be that unique agitator in the restaurant business. And I've seen someone else or some other people create something that was in my spirit. And I don't feel like, he's not done, and that wasn't my thing, and I'm not going to bury my head in the sand. But I understand that there's so many times where people just don't get it, and he didn't give it to them. He gave it to me. And it's really hard when you got no money and no support and nobody around you understands it. But I want to shout back to Dr. T again. I want to encourage everyone, if you're watching this, to protect that dream. I mean, if I could, just encourage, I can't tell you, I don't have all the words for it, but protect that dream. And sometimes it means, working a 9-to-5 or a 9-to-9 for 10, 20 years and protecting that dream, because he gave it to you. And you have to hold on to it and do some math, right? And we talking I'm talking spiritual or maybe, feelings, but do some math, and 10, 20, 30 years from now, or however long it's going to take, it's just a matter of those calculations building up. But if something comes to you, I urge you to hold on to it, because it was meant for you to bring to life.
Absolutely. When we come back after the break, I want to finish this conversation, because important to all of us is people figuring out what it means to move forward, whether you're in the beginning of your dream, the middle of your dream, or the end of your dream. Well, I won't say the end, or if you're thinking about throwing in the towel. We'll be back after the break.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Everyone to A Balanced Life. And as you can tell, this is an emotionally charged, but it's also a very practical conversation about what it means to be an entrepreneur and pursue your dreams. And first and foremost, we don't want you to give up. We want you to hold on to that dream until you can allow it to have opportunity to not only be planted in good soil, but to figure out how to germinate. And we were talking in our previous block about what it would take to move the ball down the court or down the field, or what it means for you to be able to stay in this race of entrepreneurship. I want to ask Stacey that question. Stacey, what do we do, and how do we do it when it comes to not giving up too soon?
I think if I stayed in the analogy of moving the ball or the football, I would say develop that internal cheerleader. Get you some cheer sessions within yourself, because once you start moving that ball, you may have some moments where you don't have anybody around you that is encouraging you or giving you any good things to make you feel like you need to keep moving. So if you can learn to see your small accomplishments and celebrate those small things, that will give you the power to keep moving each day. You just have to not have this big grandiose thought of, I'm going to celebrate in the end, because it's never going to be an end. You're always going to be evolving and growing. So you got to learn how to cheer yourself through so that you can stay motivated to keep chasing your purpose.
Absolutely. Jasmine, talk to us about that.
One of the things that we don't talk about, and here I am, like every day you got to be in action. And yes, you do need to stay in action, but you should also remember that in any game you play, there's a timeout. And sometimes you need that time out, and you need that time out so that you can rest, so that you can revisit your why, so you can revisit who you are, so that you can get some nourishment. So don't hesitate to use your timeouts when your body and your mind saying, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. That's interesting, because sometimes people don't know how to, as Pastor JT said, press pause. And sometimes that pause is very necessary. Talk to us, Dr. Tierney, about how do we move the ball down the court, the beginning, the middle, and on into the other parts of our journey as entrepreneurs.
So I'm so tempted to pick up right there with the timeout, because you guys know I will take a timeout in a minute. Like, you have to take a timeout. But I'm going to leave that alone. And I actually want to talk to my people who have stopped dreaming. My people who someone told you that your dream was stupid or dumb, or you're not educated enough or cute enough or whatever, enough. I want to talk to those people. And what I want to challenge you to do is to give yourself permission to dream again. Give yourself permission to get that childlike imagination back and start dreaming again. When we were kids, if we were playing outside, well, this was, again, now I'm telling my age because we played outside. If we had a stick, that stick was a drumstick. It was a conductor's baton. It was a magic wand. It was a majorette baton. I mean, we could do so much with just a stick. And somewhere along the way, when we transitioned from being children to adults, we lost that imagination because someone told us, oh, that's just a stick. I want you to take another look at that stick, whatever your stick is, be it something in the kitchen that you could bake or cook really well, be it your ability to speak really well, sing, whatever it is. I want you to go back and get your stick and give yourself permission to imagine what that thing could be and dream again. And this time you've watched this show, so you know to protect it this time, because it truly can. Everyone on this show is living, breathing witness and testimony that it can happen. Trust me.
Absolutely. Which brings me to the point of why the importance of having support. Support comes in many different forms. And oftentimes people say, oh, cash at me, send me some money, let's do this, do that. But not everything we need is financial. Let's talk a little bit for a moment about the kind of support that we need. I'm going to talk to you, Jasmine, about this. What other kinds of support outside of financial support do people need in order to seize every moment, every day of their lives?
One of the things that I think people need, and I wish I would have done it earlier on my entrepreneurial journey, I would have prioritized the spend, is to get a coach. And so there are so many different types of coaches. There are business coaches, mindset coaches, business development coaches. But I hired a coach for my business, and he's a business development coach, and he holds me responsible to making sure that my outputs are providing inputs, and that's what I need to be held responsible for. Some people really need help with the mindset, but I would say that investing in a coach, and there are all different types of coaching programs, is one of the things that you should do if you are considering an entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. Chef Rock, what role does support play in your industry?
In the restaurant industry and food business, support is extremely vital. I would echo the sentiments that definitely investing, and not, I love that word that she used, not investing, but I'm sorry, not spending, but investing, right? We often, especially as small business entrepreneurs, especially as chefs, we think about cost and, return on, if I spend this, I'm going to get this back. And some of the things on our P&Ls, whether it be personal P&Ls or the business P&L, you can't really see as a line item. So it's vital. I try to, I got this one strategy. It's not necessarily a strategy, but I try to stay in touch with those before me. I'm middle-aged now, but when I was younger, I thought I was hot shot and I did it better than, the OGs in the chef game. It's just a different era, and they've forgotten more than I ever knew. So staying in contact with those that came before me, and just, being in community is something that is that really sustained us as a people here, and understanding that we are stronger than we are solo. So in the restaurant business, it is extremely vital. If I made so many mistakes by not calling, and I'm thinking of one in particular, not calling one of my mentors and asking him about this situation or this business person. It's vital to stay in conversation with those that know more than you, and hopefully you're surrounding yourself with people that know a ton more than you, as opposed to you being the smartest one in your circle.
Absolutely. Pastor JT.
Yeah, I echo everyone's sentiments. It's extremely important. I mean, even the Bible tells us iron sharpens iron. And then Solomon talks about, wise counsel. But I'll give you this one. I always say that there should be 3 levels of pour. There should be someone that pours into you, i.e. mentor, coach, because there's somebody that has traveled the road that you've traveled that actually could help you avoid some pitfalls, and you can actually move a little bit faster than them. The second level of pour is finding a contemporary, because oftentimes as entrepreneurs, especially when we get into our silos, we feel like we're doing it all by ourselves and nobody else has ever experienced this. But when you're talking to somebody else that's kind of on the same journey with you, you're able to share best practices because unlike the mentor or coach that may have gone before you, you all are both experiencing it right now. So the information is fresh. But the last one is find somebody that you can pour into, because it's dangerous for you to be filled and not care about the people that's coming behind you. There is a term that we are saying now in our culture, getting it out the mud. I think what hurts us the most is that we should be generations ahead of ourselves because we got people still trying to get it out of the mud where somebody should have been building a bridge.
Several snaps on that. Stacey, what say ye?
Honey, you dropped the mic. You can't say anything behind that, but you're absolutely right. You have to keep yourself a mentor, coach, therapist, all of those things. I know from the education realm, when as an entrepreneur of an independent school, I have all the students plugged into me. I have all my staff plugged into me. So for me, it's very important to have that mentor that as I'm pouring out and my levels are dropping, who am I plugged into? So I have a mentor that I can touch bases with on a regular when I'm making decisions and going through good things, challenging things, and they can give me their perspective. But it allows myself to be charged and it allows me to see it from different angles, the things that I'm going through, so that I can just keep my eyes and my perspective wide enough for the masses that I'm serving.
Before I call on Dr. Tierney, I want to highlight this thread that I'm seeing running between everything that you said. And oftentimes we treat our businesses like we do our children. This is my business. You can't tell me what to do. This is my business. I can, mess it up if I want to. It's my business. Let me run it how I feel like it. These are the things that oftentimes get us in struggle because internally we feel like we're in a silo. And the reality is there are so many people who have gone before us and there's so many others who will come after us. So in the moment that you find yourself feeling as if you want to give up, Figure out, make a list right now of who you can call on in your time of need and distress, because no entrepreneur should ever feel like they're alone, because there are too many of us. Statistics are showing us that there are so many small business owners across a variety of industries that if we're not afraid, that we could just reach out, social media or otherwise, and get some advice and insight. Dr. Tierney, talk to us about the importance of being able to level up our game as entrepreneurs and not be afraid to ask for help.
You went right where I was going. I echo everything that my esteemed colleagues have said, but none of that matters if you're not humble and transparent. If you are not humble enough and transparent enough to tell somebody, invite them into the right people, invite them into your midst, to actually listen to the wisdom that they're giving you, the instruction. If I can just get real for 1 second, I am so grateful for Dr. Jackie, because Dr. Jackie was the one that came alongside me in my mess. And she told me I lost my job and I don't know what I'm gonna do. And she looked at me and she said, you got a doctorate degree. Why are you waiting on somebody else to give you a job? Go create your job. Oh, clutch my pearls. Let me get it together. And if it were not for her coming alongside me, I would not be talking to you right now as a certified coach. But I had to have that humility and that transparency to cling to Jackie, to open myself up, to allow her to pour into me. So if you got that, I don't need nobody. Okay, sugar. Okay, you're going to be on the struggle bus for longer than you need to. Let somebody help you.
I love when her hashtag struggle bus just kills me, because sometimes I get flashbacks and I know I have to go into my reflection. And so I want to say this before we end this block. I want you to think about your struggle bus moments and figure out how to get off the struggle bus, but also take those lessons and be able to pour them into someone else. When we're back after the break, I'll give my reflection.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And let me tell you, my soul is so full right now from listening to these amazing individuals talk to us about running a business and staying in business. It's not enough just to run down there, get your DBA, to fill out the forms and say you're going to start a business. You have to have the mindset, the heart, and the wherewithal to be able to stick to it. So I hope that something that we have said today that will challenge you and keep you forging forward and being the best entrepreneur that you can be. Be authentic to yourself. Discover how to seize the day. Level up in those moments when you feel like you are down. Call on somebody who can assist you, but most importantly, stay in the game. Stay in the game. You were built for this. You were made for this. In Deuteronomy, it says to us that God has given us the ability to create wealth. And oftentimes we are not looking for monetary prosperity. We are looking for what Chef Rock said, peace. Peace is priceless. Protect your dream, get your peace, and find your freedom. Thank you for joining us on today's show of A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network. Bye now.